Good morning, everyone. My name is Stephen Conley. I'd like to share with you just a quick minute to share what I feel about this song, which is "No one ever cared for me like Jesus." When I was younger, I wasn't always the devoted man of God that I am today. I used to be quite an angry jerk. But thanks to God's help, He transformed me into the calm, devoted man of Him that I am today. And the reason why I also love this song is because no matter what I'm going through, He's always willing to listen. And that's one of the reasons why I love praying. So I hope you all enjoy it. And to Miss Jean Bailey, if you're watching this, I hope you enjoy it too, because Mr. Chuck says that it's your favorite. I would love to tell you what I think of Jesus, since I found in Him a friend so strong and true. I would tell you how He changed my life completely. He did something that no other friend could do. Was full of sin when Jesus found me. All my heart was full of misery and woe. Jesus placed His strong and loving arms around me, and He led me in the way I ought to go. No one ever cared for me like Jesus. There's no other friend so kind as He. No one else could take the sin and darkness from me. Oh, how much He cared for me. Every day He comes to me with new assurance. More and more I understand His words of love. But I'll never know just why He came to save me, till someday I see His blessed face above. No one ever cared for me like Jesus. There's no other friend so kind as He. No one else could take the sin and darkness from me. Oh, how much He cared for me.
I was listening to Dr. Stanley this morning, and he said something that rings true. How many times in the Bible God says, "Fear not"? Now, that is a good statement for all of us, that we should not live our lives in fear. Does it mean that we shouldn't do what we're supposed to do? Yes, when we can't be 6 foot apart, we're supposed to wear a mask. When we can't be 6 foot apart, We need to make sure that we're doing all the things that we're supposed to be doing. When we have to be close, we wear our mask. We're doing the things we need to do. But this country can't sit at home forever. We have to be about what we're supposed to do. I like this little picture. Well, it's not up here. There it goes. Okay? I like our little picture here of Labor Day. And it's showing people from all walks of life. And what are they doing? They're doing their job. They're practicing what they're supposed to be doing. They're wearing their little mask. They're practicing their social distance. They're doing all those things that they're supposed to do. But they're at work. Life goes on. We have to be able to continue. Now, there's people at home who have all kinds of things. I just lost a good friend, Rick Larson. Rick was a good servant of the Lord. He had been a deacon for many years at Central Baptist. He loved and he took care of his family. He did all those things. But he contracted COVID. And because of the other things that were wrong, his diabetes, his problems with breathing and other things, he ended up in the hospital on a respirator, and the Lord chose to take him home. It was his time. The family could be devastated, which they are, but here's the difference. There are so many families across this nation that have no hope. They see a family member go through this, and they pass away, and the family's devastated and unconsolable, and they've lost a loved one, but that's it. The Larson family loves Jesus. They know where Dad's gone to. They know that meant that he closed his eyes, and that heart stopped beating when he opened them again. He was in the arms of Jesus. That's a comforting picture, folks, for the ones of us who are losing people to this disease and many other things. We have hope that the non-Christian community don't have, because we know where our loved ones are going. If they know Jesus, the next step, not the end of life, but the next step in life, is them being with Jesus and receiving their reward and continuing on and waiting for us to join them. You see, they're happy and content and consoled. There's no tears in heaven. There's no pain. And they're up there watching and waiting for us to get there and join them. It's part of life. It's the next step in life. No, by the way, that had nothing to do with my sermon. So our sermon today is about Labor Day. So let's talk about Labor Day itself for just a moment here. Labor Day, the first Monday in September, is a creation of the labor movement and is dedicated to the social and economic achievements of American workers. It constitutes a yearly national tribute to the contributions workers have made to the strength, prosperity, and well-being of our country. Our country was built on the labor of our people. Never more strong than what we saw in World War II. And I like the picture. Does anybody ever remember seeing this before? That was Rosie the Riveter. Okay? Rosie was the symbol of the strength of the women of this nation. When the men of the nation went off to war and there was nobody here to fill the factories, to build the tanks and the airplanes they were fighting with, the women of this country stepped up and filled the factories, and they're the ones that built the bombers and the tanks and all that our fighting people, both men and women, used to secure this nation. without the sacrifices that were made by them, we wouldn't be able to do the things we do today. So let's look at some things about Labor Day itself too. So, by 1894, 23 states had adopted the holiday. And on June 28th of 1894, President Grover Cleveland signed a law making the first Monday of September of each year a national holiday. So this is a day that we're resting, are supposed to be resting from our labors and celebrating the achievements of America. No stronger than today. Even in this time where we're fighting a coronavirus and a national epidemic, things are happening. We're having more rocket launches than we've ever had. We are seeing new car models and new jumps in technology happening. We're learning new things about our solar system. Those don't just happen. It takes people to do that. The next slide for me. Back in the early days, grandpas have to get their plugs in. Those are my granddaughters dressed up, by the way. Back in the early days, in high society, Labor Day is or was considered the last day of the year when it was fashionable to wear white. So they marked that as kind of a day of the change of the season. Labor Day has come to be a celebration by most Americans as a symbolic end of the summer. People grill. I'm a griller. I grill way into the winter season. I don't let this stop me. The word labor is used 159 times in the Bible. God cares about our labor. He cares about our labor. He expects us. There's an old saying that goes way back to the Middle Ages when Christianity was still strong but under attack, and was called the Christian work ethic. And a lot of people didn't understand that statement, Christian work ethic. And we're going to get a little bit into this. The first time in the Bible labor was used was in Genesis 31:42. Unless the God of my fathers, the God of Abraham, and the fear of Isaac had been with me, surely now you would have sent me away empty-handed. God has seen my affliction and the labor of my hands and has rebuked you this night. What that's talking about is Isaac had to flee from his brother Esau, and he went to a far country to his uncle, and he worked for his uncle to gain possessions, like we are all supposed to, work diligently, work hard, work in the admonition of God. And as he worked, his uncle kept changing what he got for his work. Kept trying to find ways to make him get less instead of more. Okay, I don't want to start pointing fingers, but how many have noticed that you have to work longer and harder just to pay for the basics like health insurance and things like that? It seems like we make more money in the dollar sense, but more is taken out for all these other things. And in the end, some cases, people make less. I heard a friend of mine just this weekend, he was talking about his mama. His mama worked for the school system all of her life and had finally retired at a good old age. But her whole retirement check is taken just to pay for her insurance. You like my mule? Sometimes our burdens seem to be overwhelming. I feel like that mule sometimes. Deuteronomy 26:7. Then we cry out to the Lord of our fathers, and the Lord heard our voice and looked on our afflictions, our labor, and our oppression. God cares about your work. He cares that you're working diligently and you're working for Him. And He is for you, not against you. And when things are going on, we're supposed to take it to the Lord. Do you? When things are happening at your work that shouldn't be happening, are you taking it to the Lord, or are you just complaining about it? Are you talking to your friends? Are you talking to everybody else in the world but the one person that might be able to do something about it? That's who you should be talking to and praying about it. God cares. God cares about everything His children do because He's trying to prepare you for an eternity. I love these old church pictures, a little country church out in the woods. There's one up in Alabama that our family has gone to that church since the early 1900s, and it's just a little country church with a really big graveyard full of a lot of McInnish people. But past that church, out in the woods, over the hill, down by the river, was the original McInnish Scottish clan plantation. And it's special. And it touches my heart. But it doesn't touch my heart like this church does. You see, God cares about a small church. He cares about your labor in that church and the things you do for that church. And even if you're not able to get here and say cook a meal or fix up flowers or do a flower bed or do whatever it is that you'd be able to do because of what's going on, your support of this church is important. Did you know attendance is worship? Your rear in the seat is worship. Okay? I don't care if you're at home or you're here. Are you spending your time and are you being a part of something to where you're telling God, I love you enough to do this? Unless the Lord builds a house, this is Psalms 127:1. Unless the Lord builds the house, the labor is vain who build it. They labor in vain who build it. Unless the Lord guards the city, the watchman stays awake in vain. You see, it's not our efforts, it's God behind our efforts. God owns this building. He owns this property. God is the shepherd of this congregation. My prayer normally goes, God, I'm fixing to get up in front of these people. I need you to help me to preach your word to your people in your house so that the words are yours and not just something that I came up with off my head. That does them no good. They need to hear from you. Exodus 20, starting with 8. Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do your work. But on the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. In it you shall do no work, nor shall your son, nor shall your daughter, nor shall your maidservant, nor shall your female servant, nor shall your cattle, nor the stranger who is within your gates. Now, is that something that's condemning people who have to work on Sunday? No, it's not. This is what the Lord would love you to do. He'd like you to take a day off, rest, and think about Him, spend time in church. But there's another story about a man who on the Sabbath that Jesus talked about that went and helped his friend. Well, who's more close of a friend to you than your own family? And if you have to work on Sunday, you go work and you do your best and you do it as if you're doing it to the Lord, and it's part of your worship is to go do that work. And sometime when you get off, you spend some time with you and the Lord in prayer and do some worshiping at home. God is not against what you have to do. God is for you in all things you do. His desire is that you take a day off, and you not just take the day off to go out and pull the boat out of the back of the yard and take it down to the lake and take the family skiing. That's not His idea. His idea is you take time to spend with Him and contemplate over your last week. And maybe the bad things that happen in your week you need to take to Him. To look forward to your new week coming up and lay it before the Lord and say, Lord, help me to do the things that are going to honor you in this coming week. And maybe sing a little bit. Maybe look into His Word. But spending time with God is the most important thing. Why? Because He wants you to. He loves you. He cares about you. He sent His Son for you. Spend time with Him. And whatever ye do, do it heartily, to your best effort, as to the Lord, and not unto men, knowing that the Lord ye shall receive the reward of the inheritance, for ye serve Lord Christ. Understand in this paraphrase that I'm going to use here, God wants you to do good work in every. I don't care if you're washing a dish. If you're a dishwasher in a restaurant, do your best job. Do it as if you're doing it for the Lord. Now, I always, why? Why? Because He's watching you. Whatever He puts you doing, He did it on purpose. The worst job in the world that I used to have to do. God put me there doing that on purpose so He could give me that experience and watch how I did it and watch what my attitude was towards it and how much energy I put into it so He could say, okay, this is where I can use this when He gets here to heaven. What you're doing now is preparing yourself for the future. Because our future doesn't end at the grave. Our future starts at the grave. Philippians 2. Philippians 2 starting at 14. Do all things without complaining or disputing, that you may become blameless and harmless, children of God, without fault in the midst of a crooked and perverse generation. He knows things are bad here. He knows this is a fallen world, full of a bunch of fallen people, and He stuck us in this world anyway. He could have pulled us out. You could have fallen on your knees and asked Jesus in your heart, and He says, okay, you're done. Let's take you out of here. But He didn't. He left you here on purpose. He left you here in this ugly, sin-ridden world on purpose as a training ground to get you ready. Holding fast to the word of life, so that I may rejoice in the day of Christ, that I have not run in vain or labored in vain. So He leaves you here, and you just kind of ho-hum it through life, and you really don't put a bunch of effort. I've heard people say, he's so heavenly minded, he's no earthly good. Okay? If your mind is, well, I've already earned heaven, I call it fire insurance. Okay? I've already earned heaven, whatever I do down here don't matter anymore. Yeah, you're going to get to heaven. You're going to get to heaven, but remember what you do on earth here is going to follow you there. You don't get to keep your nice clothes or your nice car or your nice house. You don't get to keep any of your money. The only thing you get to keep and clings to you when you leave this life and you go to the next life is what you did here on earth, your works, good and bad. Jesus labored. Mark 10:45. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as ransom for many. Jesus came and worked. And everything he did as a human being, fully man, fully God, on earth, he did to his best ability. As an example, was he here in the fallen world? Yes. Were things ugly back then? Oh yeah, things were bad back then. You had a usurper sitting on the throne of Israel. Talked about it Wednesday night. Herod. He wasn't even Jewish. He was a descendant of Esau that Roman had put over the Jewish people, and he was a tyrant. His castle that sit on top of the mountain looked over the top. You could literally see from his castle, you could see the city of Bethlehem, where Jesus was born. That's the world that God brought Jesus into, knowing it was going to be a tough time. But Jesus went all the way through it without sin. And he worked hard for God. He did his job the best he could with whatever he had to work with. Think about it. He had a bunch of fishermen to work with. He had to evangelize the whole world, and here was what he had to work with, starting with Peter. But you know what? He made it work. He invested all his energy and his time and his effort into teaching these men that weren't trained. They weren't priests. They weren't Sadducees or Pharisees. They were common men. And what was said about them? When the Sanhedrin had arrested them and brought these 12 men in, and they talked, and they're going, wait a minute, aren't these a bunch of fishermen? Where did they learn these letters and words? And it was understood because they were with Jesus. And they learned from him. Jesus put effort into what he did here on earth. And that's what he expects from us. And it don't matter what your job is. It ain't about the job. It's about the heart and the effort. Are you putting your heart into it? Or are you just mad because you got a bad boss? And the system's crooked. And you're not being paid fair. And they keep taking money out of your check. And you're disgruntled. And you're mad. So why should I care about this job? Because God wants you to. He gave you the job. He wants you to do the best you can with it. He wants to see your heart and your effort. And when you're mad about it, He wants to hear from you about it. Yeah, that's right. You get to complain to God. You get to complain. Throughout the Bible, over and over, David on down, they complained about things that were going on. You're allowed to do that. Let's talk about the last time labor is mentioned in the Bible. Here is the patience. Hear that word, patience? Yeah, patience isn't a fun lesson. The Lord teaches patience by giving you hard things. That's how He teaches you patience. Here are those who keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. When I heard the voice from the heavens saying, write, he's talking to John right now, write this down, John. Blessed are the dead who die in the Lord from now on, from the day Jesus died. Blessed are those that die in the Lord. Rick Larson is blessed because he died in the Lord. He knew Jesus Christ. He has a blessed place waiting for him in heaven. Yes, says the Spirit, that they may rest from their labors and their works follow them. The last words in the Bible about labor are, and their works follow them. We who are Christian, will not be at the great white throne judgment that you hear about, where God is condemning people because they never believed in Jesus Christ to go to a fiery hell. We won't be there. We have a different place we're going to be. We will be in front of the throne of Jesus Christ. And Jesus will be up there, and He will go through all of our lives, and He will take all the works that you did that were good, and you will receive crowns and rewards. And He will take all that you did that was bad, and it will be burned as hay and stubble. And only those good things that you did in a good heart, oh, here's going to hurt, in a good attitude, are going to be a blessing to you, and are going to be what lifts you up to your position you will hold for eternity in heaven. What you do here, folks, in this world matters. I don't care how terrible the circumstances are. If you don't like it, talk to God about it. Complaining to your fellow employee, going up and getting your boss's face, that cures nothing. Cures nothing. Take it to the one who can do something about it. Let's talk about some action points. What can I do about this? First, it's Labor Day. Thank someone for their labor this week. Pray for our country, its leaders, and civil servants. Oh, and if you need to, pray for your boss, that God works on him or her, or your supervisor, or that person that's making it hard for you to do your job every day the way God wants you to do it. Submit to God's authority in your life. Are you doing what you're supposed to be doing? Are you in God's will? And if you're not, you pray about it, He'll show you what His will is. And it may include a change. Maybe you're in the wrong place doing the wrong thing. Look around you and reach out and help somebody. This Labor Day should be a day you take a breath, you go to God, you review your life, and you see, am I where I'm supposed to be? I had to do this. Right now, God has me right where He wants me to be, doing exactly what He wants me to do, and it ain't all pretty, folks. It ain't all roses and cream. I'm a school teacher. You know what's going on right now. This whole thing of trying to teach the kids in your classroom, oh, and by the way, you've got kids on the internet you're teaching at the same time, and you got to keep them all separated and social distance and in their right seat. Oh, and now I've got to take them out in the hangar and keep them social distance while they do their work on the airplanes. Oh yeah, this is fun. But you know what? If I got a complaint, I'm not going to go to my supervisor. I'm not going to go to some person. I'll take it to God. Because you know what? Charles Stanley said it again this morning. Fear not. Fear not. He's saying that to Jacob just before Jacob went and attacked the city. Fear not. I am with you. I love you. I care about you. I support you. I want the best for you. That's what God's saying to you. Do your job. Do it the best you can. If you got a complaint, bring it to me. Let's talk about it. Because He's the one you can always go to at any time. Father, thank you for the word that you brought. Thank you for this holiday where we're supposed to stop for a moment, pause on this Labor Day. First, thank you for what's going on. Thank you for our nation. Thank you for the leaders because you put them there. Thank you for the job you've given us. Thank you for that job you're going to give us if we're out of work. Be with us in our hearts to make sure regardless of our situation, are our hearts right? Are we looking at it the right way, that you expect us to do the best we can in whatever situation you put us in, to the best of our ability, and with the best attitude? So Father, be with us in this hard time, as we're doing all these things that we have to do, as we're getting through this. In Jesus Christ's name, amen. I want to thank you who are on YouTube and Facebook that are joining us this morning here at Frontenac Baptist Church in Cocoa, Florida. We hope you've enjoyed the service and you've got a blessing from it. Be with Jesus.